Let's speak to our man, Michael Graham, US political commentator and managing editor at Inside Sources. Michael, good afternoon to you. When I first saw this, of course, I thought, hang on a second, this was the old Trump back in the day, wasn't it, before he was elected in 2016, when he was saying, look, this is what I will look at doing. He didn't get around to doing it at the time, but he's now back.
Well, he is, and part of it is response to the horrific attack by an illegal immigrant from Egypt who, committed that horrific, attack with improvised flamethrower, water bottles of gas, whatever it was. Some of us are just disappointed that Scotland wasn't on the list. How'd they miss it? You keep the Scotch out if we possibly can. And it's one of the areas where Donald Trump is winning. And I also think it's feeding another story. The CNN over here, which is a left, media outlet, their pollster did a big rant earlier this week where he was looking at how the two parties compare in the U.S. And he was outraged that Republicans still have a double-digit lead on the issue of the economy. Look at what's going on with the tariffs and everything. How can you be losing to this guy, But then he got to the profound question, and this is relevant to your two parties. In the U.S., the Democratic Party, our version of the Labor Party, has always been the party of the middle class. And the Republicans are the party of whatever, the ownership class, maybe the professional class, the white-collar class. And in 1989, right after Reagan, Democrats had I think it was a 23-point lead. And then he showed how it's steadily gone down. And with Trump, now they are tied. The Republican and Democratic Party are tied for the working class vote. If that stays in place, Democrats will not win another election.
No, because
they don't have voters to replace all. First of all, it's the biggest group. There are obviously more working class people than there are professional class, and that's, I think it's because of things like this. You go to the academic pinhead types. You go to the, people who admire the United Nations types. They say, well, you can't do a ban on a country. You can't say people from Eritrea or Haiti or whatever. You just can't do that. That might involve brown people or it might whatever. And normal people just go, what the heck are we doing letting people in from these countries in the first place?
Sure.
There's real problems. And whether it's the right policy or not, it's a policy that resonates with those voters that Democrats are already losing. And when Democrats attack it, for example, the Trump administration is deporting the family of the Egyptian terrorist. And we have prominent Democrats in the United States who are attacking the Trump administration for this. I'm like, you guys are idiots. First of all, they're here illegally. So you don't get to stay. Sorry. And second of all, why do you keep being on the side of the gang member who was wrongly sent to El Salvador? Yes, it was a screw up. Yes, he should be treated fairly. I agree with that. But why are you out acting like he's a hero who's been harmed? Why are you defending the family of this guy who literally set Jews on fire? And this is part of the ongoing brand problem that the American left has.
And the stranger, you're absolutely bang on, and you're right to wonder about where the heck the Democrats can end up, who's going to be voting for them. But I just think with this, we're living in a world where this isn't even hard to understand. I don't think you need to be a Democrat, a Republican, a Tory or a Labour member to understand there's some pretty bad places out there. Their regimes are medieval. There are death cults running the place. Look at what's happening with Hamas and places like that. The Taliban over there in Afghanistan, North Pakistan. You could look at Iran and, of course, the horrors of what happens there. Even Egypt once, and, it's never been fully liberal, but, it's got perhaps more stringent. Turkey, those kind of countries, areas that really do have a very different idea about how the world should look. A worldview that isn't just a few political nuances, but seismic differences in how, human life should progress. I don't see there's anything controversial about saying maybe some of those countries we're going to just put a little bit of a ban on for a bit, just to we'll see what happens. So
now let's look at it from the other side. Why does it matter if America has a ban on these 11 countries? Why is losing immigrants from Yemen really going to cause a problem? The answer, of course, is no, because literally billions of people want to come to the United States. Why? Because it's a country that rocks. I would say the same thing for the UK. People they get on rafts to try to come to the UK because it's a country that rocks. Why start with the premise that we have no right to control our borders and flip it around to, we've got something great. People want to live in our countries. Let's pick the best and brightest. Let's have maybe an income minimum. You can't come here unless you have a certain, or a skill minimum. If you have a certain skill we need, then let's have a you're friends of ours against China or Russia deal. Hey, you're the European countries that are helping us fight China. So in other words, not Hungary. I mean, fight Russia. So Hungarians are in the back of the line and Poles are in the front of the line. There's all kinds of things you can do to advance cause. If you start with the premise that I live in a great country, people would be lucky to live in the country I live in. And so we're going to use that. It's kind of the immigration version of Trump's tariff model. He points out our economy is so big, we can afford to be bullies. I don't want to be a bully. I think I'm more of a let's lower the tariffs, let everybody prosper. I want Mexico to get rich. I want the UK to get rich. I think more rich people is a better thing. But the premise, you can understand it. You're right. The American economy is the biggest in the world. We have something other countries want. Why can't we act that way about our sovereignty too? A lot of good policies can come out of it.
Yeah, and America, a country that was built on, so many different backgrounds and people, would embrace that. The land where you can be what you want to be, the entrepreneur is encouraged. If somebody comes from Yemen and they tick all the right boxes and they're here to contribute and advance and explore and, innovate, all that, America would be the first country to say, yeah, come on in, guys.
Yeah, but the fact is there are a lot of other countries in the Middle East and in South America and in Asia who don't have these lingering problems like Afghanistan does. And so once again, if we were running short of people, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We got the table set for 12 and there's only 8, but we don't have that problem. So why not? What's the downside? Like I said, I would like to see immigration focused more on what is the best outcome for my country? What is the best outcome for your country? That seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, absolutely right. While you're with us, Michael, bound to ask you as well, a couple of other bits. The US has told the United Kingdom it must spend 5% of its GDP on defence. We've been speaking a lot about this. I mean, it's fair to say Trump's had some success in saying to other countries, you've got to step up to the plate here, guys. NATO and Lord knows who else. You've been, frankly, remiss in your contribution. America's been bailing you out, or has always been standing there in the wings to bail you out. You've known it, so you haven't put your hand in your pocket. Times are going to change.
And, I'm a big supporter of helping Ukraine, arming Ukraine, putting weapons in their hands. I'm an old-fashioned Republican. I believe that the party exists for 2 reasons: cut taxes and kill commies. And so I would definitely want to see Ukraine just rock and roll. But one of the arguments that I get is, if this really is so important, if Russia is an existential threat to order in Europe, if it could break Europe for Russia to advance, why won't these countries that want us to do something at least, put in the minimum bid to be in the game? And I think, in all seriousness, when Germany and the UK and France in particular show the Americans that they are serious about doing their part, it'll be an easier sell to get America to contribute more.
Yeah. Did you say Germany? Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's perfect. I mean, they let their military collapse. I saw some horrifying numbers about 2 months ago. Like half of their military was capable of deployment. Half. Yeah. It was just ridiculous. So not only are they not spending the raw dollars, they're not doing what they need to do. And of course, as long as they keep buying energy from Europe, this is the thing. And I don't understand this on both sides of the pond, as you say.
Sure.
America is awash in natural gas. Where the area of Pennsylvania alone, out in that key swing state, is the 4th largest supply. Why don't we have just a steady convoy of ships from the American East Coast to Europe to basically, cut off the market for Russia? Just say, look, we're gonna give you such a steady pipeline. You can, on our end, you can turn theirs off, because if Russia loses its gas station status, it can't afford its military. And it's funny. Democrats in the U.S. won't back it because it involves evil fossil fuels, and Europeans won't back it because they want, green energy, and they're shutting down their nukes. So I don't know what the heck.
Yeah. And by the way, on the German military, what does really mark them out is the only military that has a work from home policy. You can see where the problems lie. Listen, Michael, always good to have you with us. Michael Graham, our man on Capitol Hill.